Good evening all and welcome to episode 36 of the Sky Fantasy Podcast by Fantasy Football Hub as we look ahead to the remainder of Sky Game Week 19. My name is Andrew and I'm joined as usual by two of the most successful Sky managers in the game. Firstly, Paul McAnulty. How was your Sky weekend, Paul?
It was going all right, but I don't own stones, so I guess that's going to make or break a lot of people's weekends. So yeah, average, I'd say.
Other than that, you captain Bamford or Vardy yesterday, or
Bamford yesterday and De Bruyne today.
Okay. We also have former Sky winner, the man with the silhouette in his background this evening. He's doing it by candlelight this evening. Dan, how was your Sky weekend?
Pretty terrible, really, mate. Yes, I got 6 points yesterday. It was
yeah, I think a lot did yesterday, to be fair.
Yeah, I know everyone is in the same boat, but it's been pretty just pretty rubbish, really. So yeah, should be a good show.
I'm feeling quite chipper after a really crap week, so I went for Lacazette over Holding in the week, just to watch Holding and David Luiz just play ping pong each other for 90 minutes and Lacazette not have a chance. But at 10-2 today, I saw something in one of our Hub WhatsApp groups about City having a 4-1 over Leeds. Because I was having a stinker, I took out Bamford for John Stones. So I am a very, very happy, feeling very fortunate actually, obviously, because it's not very often a centre half gets a brace, really, is it? I remember Van Dijk doing it a couple of seasons ago, but it's very, very rare, isn't it? So good stuff, gents. As we're live, everyone, please feel free to join in the chat at any time. Let us know your thoughts on the topics or the relevant sections, and feel free to ask some questions for us to answer at the end. Good evening all. We've got a full house again. Today we've got Luke Shillito, we've got Jeff Stelling. How's everyone Game Week going? We've got Norman Conquest. Just quickly, results 4-0. So Man City have kept their clean sheet for all those with Manchester City defenders and maybe the keepers that kept their clean sheet. So really good news for everyone who jumped on last week. Evening Norman, evening Louis Rice, Addy Tor, Phil Speck, David Rowe, Glenn Murray, Reese Bloomer, Gio Boys, Anthony Chamberlain, Ian Parron, Andrew Patterson, Martin Beasley, Paul Haggerty, Aaron Alton, Mike Neve, 81, Pete S, James Street, Liam Dorrian, and Sean Gannon. Good evening, everyone. Great to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us. For any new watchers and listeners, if you haven't subscribed to us yet, please press the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Set the alerts so you don't miss our live streams, which are 9 p.m. every Sunday right here on this channel. Also, please press the like button if you enjoy our content. So this evening, Paul will share some bonus stats for us for the last 5 game weeks. Dan will share some ownership and transfer stats. Paul has prepared some effective ownership stats from the wonderful ffstuff.co.uk website. If you haven't been on there yet and you play fantasy football, you're missing out. ffstuff.co.uk. Make sure you go there. We'll take a look at the remainder of Game Week 19, which is happening this week. We will answer some Twitter questions, give some mini league updates, and finish off as usual with Dan's rant. Paul, have you got some stats?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just looking at the page just now. So again, there's a lot of domination by City in there. So Rodri's at the top. I brought him in my B team last week, and I talked about Gundogan last week as well, and I went for him in my A team. I constantly talk about bonus players picking up bonus, and don't necessarily pick them or use my transfers on them. So I wanted to live by the sword, as you would. So I brought in Gundogan during the week. He's returned okay.
Nice move.
We've got Rob Holdings up there with 7 bonus points in the last 5 game weeks, so I thought it was interesting. I'm not too sure if it's a filter that I've gone at, because I don't see Stones, and I'm pretty sure he's qualified as well. So I think it might be missing a couple of the City players.
Yeah, I can't see Stones on there either.
Yeah, I'll double check that. I checked it this morning. Yeah. Maybe I put a filter on it, but it was dominated by the City players. So Diaz and Stones obviously heavily up there. Gundogan again, Rodri, and I know people are ploughing into the City assets, and think it's obviously paid off based on the number of games that they had, and the 4-for-1s and the 3-for-1s over players. I know Grealish was transferred out a lot as well. So apologies, I'm doing this on the fly because, as I say, what I'm looking at.
I think the filter's wrong in it. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Really good stuff. I think everyone who jumped on City last week, I was tempted, but I think I brought in. I was just on Diaz and Cancelo, obviously fine last week. But if everyone jumped on, my normal sort of move would to be on jump on, Edison, Diaz, Stones, Cancelo, and I wish I had now. But obviously, it's easy in hindsight, and obviously we're still not even halfway through the season yet, so we need to be mindful of transfers as well. But if anyone jumped really heavily on City last week, they would be absolutely flying at the table. So well done for doing that. And anyone who jumped on Holding last week as well, because he had a bit of a storm in that Arsenal match. And obviously they're playing as well tomorrow evening. Okay, transfers in and out. Dan, do you want to touch on these?
Yep. So I can't think what we did. I put in my article. I'd put it on Twitter, didn't I? There was like 10,000 transfers made, weren't there, before the City game midweek? Most of them, actually, no, there was 20,000 transfers in the top 20 players in, and 10,000 of them were Man City players. So a lot of people loaded up during the week. But since last Sunday to today, the top 5 ins are surprised with number 1, Bamford, into 9,865 teams. That was I was sort of telling everyone to get rid of them today. Do you know what I mean? For Stones and people like that, Cancelo. And so surprising to see he was the top 1 in. Less people didn't have a captain yesterday and brought him in for that. I don't know. Saka was the second most in, 8,044. Son, third with 6,859. Rashford, 6,181. And then De Bruyne into 6,097. Quite surprising. If you go down the list, there in the last 7 days, there is then Diaz, Cancelo, Stones. Stones have been brought into 3,000 teams, but he doesn't make the top 5. So while we're all on Man City, not everyone was on Man City. The top 5 outs, Calvert-Lewin out of 35,000 teams. So he's been it's been sold more than double than anyone else. His second is Grealish at 12,000 teams. Then Vardy at 5,123. Podence out of 4,022. And then Ward-Prowse out of 3,387. That's your top 5s ins and outs since last Sunday.
And I've noticed that Zuma is just underneath, and I'm pretty sure we've got quite a lot of questions about what to do with Zuma and Vardy. And the thing is, it's not easy because we don't get to see the lineups before we choose a captain in that game either on Tuesday, but we'll come to that in a bit, I'm sure. Vardy's been very underwhelming, haven't he? Well, just quickly on Vardy. So I did the Kane to Vardy move. Obviously, it didn't work out. However, in hindsight, if I hadn't have done Kane to Vardy to release some funds, I wouldn't be able to get Stones today. So I suppose it all kind of swings around. But Vardy's a pick has been quite underwhelming, haven't he? He's a very frustrating watch.
I'm taking him out. Definitely taking him out. Well, I won't say definitely. I think I'm taking him out. And do you know why that is? I caught a bit of it on TV earlier. His missus is on Dancing on Ice, right?
Take him out.
He's got about 7 kids. So he's at home looking after them kids. She's doing that all day. He's going to be knackered. No, he's got to go, I think. Once I saw her in that tonight, I thought, no. Because remember when she went into the jungle, I think he had a bit of he didn't score then, did he, for a couple of weeks, so to speak. So I'm thinking, I need to get him out now. She's off out doing that. Get rid.
I think in all fairness to Liam, who came on one of our Friday evening streams, was it just before Christmas maybe or just after?
Yes.
And he said that Vardy, the last 2 Januaries, has been very poor actually, and he kind of said, I wouldn't be choosing him. And fair play to Liam because the fixtures were there, weren't they? And they're still there. In all fairness, this is the problem. In the next few weeks, they've got they've got some decent fixtures coming up. But
the counter argument I would say to that is that there's no forwards that are on form just now. So,
no, that's right.
And you have to play unless you play 4-5-1, you have to play a minimum of 2 strikers anyway.
Yeah. take out Vardy, take out Bamford, take out everyone. Like, but yeah, well, okay. And finally, Dan. So top 1K ownership. Did you look at that today? Yeah.
Yeah, done it this week. So the still the top in the top in the top 1,000 is Bruno Fernandes, 96.9, De Bruyne, 93.9%, Harry Kane, 76.2%, Salah, 74%, Diaz, 62.2, Dallas, 61.1, Zuma, 54.4. Like, that's a lot of teams with people now wondering what to do. Bamford, 41.5, still really high. Cancelo, 40%, gutted, he didn't start today. And then Grealish, 35.3, and he's took a real drop over the last few weeks.
Yeah, notice Stones is just a bit further down as well. He's higher than I thought, actually. 21.6 is higher than I thought he would be, because he's only really come massively on the radar, in January, really, I would say, haven't he? He was playing well, but it's interesting, isn't it? What are your thoughts on Dallas, Paul? Is he just a hole because of his price at the moment?
Yeah, I've got Dallas, so I'll just be holding him through to overhaul. I think as well, if you don't own Bamford, there's a good chance that the Leeds Crystal Palace game could be a single match day, and similarly, there's a good chance that they could rearrange the Leeds Southampton game for midweek in the middle of the overhaul, and I think that counts then towards this side of the overhaul, and the overhaul would kick in after that game.
Oh wow! So we'd have like a couple of days.
I think that's how it worked last year. Is that right, Dan? Or because it couldn't be before, because you would just load up on those players.
I can't think what they did. It was Liverpool, wasn't it? They put the Liverpool West Ham game in it, and I'm sure that was in this half of it, wasn't it? So
because remember, everyone loaded up for the 3-for-1s on the Liverpool players. They played like on the Sunday, the weekend before the last full weekend, so you were getting a 3-for-1 on Liverpool over most other teams, and that's why everyone piled into Liverpool.
But that will be, if they stick that game in there. I already messaged Billy the Kid at Sky and just said, just be aware, like, they might put this game in the overhaul week, so just have a plan ready, because we might have to have another 2 or 3 day overhaul sort of thing, like last year. So,
and I just can't be bothered transferring in and out like the 6 million-ish players anyway.
No, it's not.
If you were doing that move to Holden for the 2 Arsenal captaincies from last week, I think that would have made sense. But I don't know. Not like I think a few people that I've seen mention that they might move on to Kufal so that they've got a captain on Tuesday night. I don't know. It just doesn't really appeal to me that much.
Okay, and finally, Dan, transfers Romanian. Have you got this on to hand from last Thursday? I've got them if you haven't.
No, I haven't. Yeah, go for it, mate.
So this was from last Thursday. Top 5,000 average 17.2. Top 1,000 17.1. So starting to level off, whereas this was all the way down, wasn't it? To in the I think it was the 13s or 14s in one stage, as the league begins to strengthen, as all the teams who've run out of transfers start to drop off. The good players, and teams who've held their transfers back are now starting to come through. And this is why we said, for those players at the start, for those players who haven't played before, this is why transfer management is so important. If you're top 100 in the first few weeks, it's all well and good, but you don't get any money for that. You win your mini leagues in April and May, and this is why it's so important to hold them back. In the top 100, 14.6, and top 10, just 8 transfers left. Again, I think there's one person in the top 10 who's got 20 plus left, who's a public team. Is that right?
I don't think there's any public teams in the top 10 now, but I think you're right. Or I think the person had went on Twitter and mentioned that they had that many transfers left, perhaps.
Okay. Right, cool.
I'll have a look while we're going on at the leaderboard FF stuff, Scott, and see if I can find anything.
Sounds good. Okay, so next, Paul is just going to chat us through some effective ownership. So again, it's a slide from ffstuff.co.uk. Paul, over to you.
Yeah, what I was mentioning earlier on, the slider on the bonus stats is based on what game that the team played in. So because City had played 2 game weeks less, we had chopped off 2 City's games from the filter. So that's why the City players were
okay, I see.
Right at the top. So effective ownership, it's it's something that I was interested in before, and I've looked at. So when I hold a player, so say I held Diaz, and Diaz was my only Man City defender, foregoing that Stone's got a double today. So I think of it on a clean sheet basis. Like, do I go into a game wanting the team to keep a clean sheet? So if I held Diaz, I would be owning 100% of a City asset. So I used to count up the defensive percentage ownership in the top 1,000. So on the slides, you'll see that the percentage ownership top 1,000 for all of City's defenders is 142%. So on average, players in the top 1,000 own 1.42 City assets, so defensive assets. So if I held Diaz, anytime that City kept a clean sheet with just Diaz playing, I would likely go down in points and down in rank. Whereas if I had two City assets, defensive assets, I'd own 200% ownership, and therefore any clean sheet that City kept, I would go up. So Frigate FF Stuff put together this great visual. You can see percentage ownership in one slide. You can put it down to any team. So I was thinking if Zuma had played yesterday, Chelsea's defensive ownership was 120%, I think, 2 or 3 weeks back. Yesterday it was less than 100%. So had Zuma played, I would have wanted Chelsea to keep a clean sheet. I was like to say it's something that I always looked at, knowing what I wanted to cheer for when I was watching a game or not, that would affect my overall rank. So really useful tool if anyone's interested.
I think it's so useful to kind of understand and plan your moves as well. If you're just sat on Diaz or Stones or Cantara, for example, and you're hoping for a Man City clean sheet, if you looked at this, you actually think, if you think they're a good bet, you need to get more on, because if just Diaz keeps a clean sheet and that's it, you'll likely go down, as you say. So I think it's an excellent tool. It's just what was I gonna touch on then? I can't think I was gonna mention then, but
well, you remember, I looked through the top 100, mate. Yeah. There's a team in 30th for 24 left. That was the highest.
In 30th, was it? I'm sure it was in the top 10 a week or so back. Not so far anyway. A few messages in the chat. Marius Ionita had Stones in both teams. Gordon Hamilton loaded up on Man City. Edison, KDB, Diaz and Stones. Thanks for the tips, guys. Fire and Blood, Palace are a useless team. Indeed, they are. Well, they can't score a goal, can they? Norman says they moved the overhaul last year. Yeah, that's right. When's the next overhaul? And Nathan Shawrath was planned for the 6th of February, but it all depends where that Leeds v Southampton game is put in. We may hear this. Well, I'm hoping we'd hear this week about the fixtures, how they land for the overhaul. We've got some predictions. I haven't got them on screen, but I'll read through them the best I can. So Ian Parrin has done a few predictions for us based on how they think they might fall in terms of the TV. James Street, Sterling finally got me a return, nearly saved for the 6-3 over Kane. And Liam says Vardy has got 4 goals in 23 games in January. I wish you'd have told us this, Liam, before we all jumped on Vardy a couple of weeks ago. Marius is second in the Telegraph game. Well done, Marius. Awesome stuff. Take it you jumped on there. Jumped on the City defence there as well. Okay, so we're just going to have a look at the games ahead of us now for this week, and then we'll go to the questions, and I'll also look at some fixture predictions as well. So tomorrow, gents, Arsenal v Newcastle. I know you're both on holding. Very depressing for me. I'm on Lacazette, and I'd take a 2-point start. I would take him starting at the moment, because they've been talking about rotation. I hope they mean they're going to rotate Holding with Gabriel or Pablo Mari.
Well, I'll take the 20 points from last week, mate. That'll do.
I can't believe it.
Pablo Mari's injured, I think.
Is he?
I think
okay. So. I'm still unsure. If Holding starts and Lacazette doesn't, I'm going to have to leave it. But it will be incredibly frustrating knowing there's probably an 80 or 90% chance I will lose 20 more points ground, but I'm not sure it's worth a transfer. Because knowing my luck, Holding will get a red card and Lacazette will come on and score a winner or something like that. But
He's going to get if he starts. He's going to get passing bonus. That was the main reason I went.
Yeah, no, it was the right move. It's very rare. It's very rare. I get angry with myself. But last week, well, I was I think I messaged Paul. I was like, I'm so furious. I was so angry with myself because I just went for a bit of a punt rather than just taking the 5 points, basically, right? As it happened, it was 10 and 20, but yeah, it's really, really frustrating. So obviously the majority of people will be who they went for last week. If people were on Tierney, guys, would you recommend bringing in a captain for tomorrow, or is it transfer dependent, or any immediate thoughts on that?
Is he definitely out tomorrow?
If he is out, I suppose.
If he is
you get
out,
to see the lineups, yeah. So
no, I wouldn't. Like, I've got Holding, and if Holding don't start, then I won't bother. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's where I'd sort of, obviously not people listening to the stream, but that's where you hope other people would waste another transfer bringing in someone. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Whereas I just, I was happy with the 20 points against Palace. So, do you know what I mean? I'd be happy if he starts Monday, let alone anything else. But no, I don't think so.
The thing
probably
with Tierney,
Lacazette or Aubameyang score a hat-trick now.
The thing with Tierney is roughly this. He's around the same price as Zuma, Antonio, Cancelo, Stones. There's I would rather take loading up, knowing that City's got more games. I would rather load up on a City player, or if I could change formation, I would rather hold the transfer and bring Antonio on if I didn't have a captain for Tuesday night or something like that.
Yeah, and City's next 4 games, they're home to Villa. They might concede in that game if Villa are playing well, but after that, they've got West Brom, Sheffield United, and Burnley. I think they're probably guaranteed a couple of cleans and probably get passes in all 3. But Man City all the way on the Tuesday night. So this is an interesting one. West Ham versus West Brom. So even though West Brom have improved, they're still conceding goals. The last 3 games they've conceded 5, 4, and 2. They're going the right way. But after that is Leicester and Chelsea, and some people still on Zuma, some are on Vardy. Now I'm tempted. So a move I did earlier was I moved Bamford to Stones, and I'm very tempted now to shift Zuma up to Antonio. So I saved myself enough money to do that, as well as do Lacazette back to Salah on Thursday. A bit punty, but West Ham's fixtures are very, very good until the overhaul. I think the comments from Zoom from Lampard was the thing which has really got me nervous. He said that basically said, this is not word for word, but he basically said that Rudiger has got more personality than Zuma, and he wanted him on the pitch to try and give his team a lift. That was basically what he said. If he'd have just said, we're rotating a little bit, or we're sharing minutes, and you think, okay, fair enough. But they kept a clean sheet, they won the game. Dan, do you expect Zuma to start on Tuesday?
So yesterday I thought, well, I've got to get rid of him. He's definitely gone. But then, I think Liam had put in our chat today, Thiago Silva's 46 or however old he is, 36 or whatever. And he was like, do you think he might not play twice in 2 days? Maybe Zuma comes. So I honestly don't know now. I do think probably I will still get rid of him because I know we'll go on to it in a minute. But my captain choices for Tuesday was Vardy or Zuma. Yeah. And now they're both doubts, aren't they? So I'm thinking I could just take out Zuma for Antonio. Antonio's the first game. And at least I know I've got a captain playing if he starts. And the thing about Antonio is, yes, I know everyone says he's injury prone, but we think they've got West Brom, Palace. I know they've then got Liverpool, then Villa, then Fulham. Even if he only makes 2 of them, I'd just then leave him until the overhaul. Like, he's not I do get him in and he does get injured. It's just how it is, sort of thing. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking of doing now. But Zuma is annoying because when I did do my plan how many weeks ago, he was just going to sit in there till the overhaul because I thought he might pick up. They've just missed out on passing bonus, haven't they? So I thought I'd keep hold of him, but now it's like, do you know what I mean? I just knew when Rudiger didn't leave at the end of the transfer window or whatever, I knew there was always that risk. So I don't know. I still need to think about it really and see if there's any news tomorrow, really, or if Chelsea get a single game day come up with these sort of last fixtures before the overhaul, I might keep them in hope. But honestly, I don't know at the minute.
Any thoughts, Paul, on Zuma? Or are you just leaving him?
I don't think I've got anything to add on top of what both of you said. I don't have Antonio, so I'm thinking I didn't want to get Antonio in before I had seen him play, and now he's played 120 minutes in the FA Cup and in the game. He
played the full 90 on the weekend as well, didn't he? Did he?
Yeah. So what I'm predicting will potentially happen is he'll start midweek, and then it's FA Cup at the weekend.
Yeah,
and he'll possibly be rested then back in time for the Crystal Palace game on the Tuesday night. So I'm thinking of moving for Antonio. I really like Antonio as a player. I think he's a great fantasy asset. He would be worth well over 8 million if his injury record wasn't as bad.
I think the thing for me with Zuma, when you're playing Sky, 9 times out of 10, you would expect. I think you would pick a player you would expect to start, and those comments worry me. I think they're unlikely to keep a clean sheet against Leicester anyway, regardless of whether he plays or not. May get the pass in, may not. But it's not about tomorrow, it's about the next game. So on the next game when they play, you're going to be looking for that team sheet and you're going to be very, very nervous. And that's not the kind of player which I like having in my team. I like players who I know are going to start practically every game, unless they're maybe, slightly rotated or get an injury. But with Zuma now, I personally think there's a lot of concern because of the comments. Because there was nothing mentioned about rest. It was like, we need a bit more personality, which to me, they injected the personality. They won the game. Why would he then go back? I think that's just my mindset.
It would just be. I just think if it was, I think it's not Rudiger that comes out. I think it's potentially Thiago Silva if he does feel that he can't play the 2 games in 3 days.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, but I'm thinking. Sorry, I'm thinking up till the overhaul now. I'm thinking, all the way up. You're going to be guessing the team sheet now every week, whereas, you could have Stones, Antonio, whereas if they're fit, they're going to be in the team. Jonathan says Soucek is a decent, cheaper alternative. 7.3, a straight swap for Neto if you want to get rid. He's been doing well, Soucek, recently, in all fairness. Okay, so that covers off Tuesday, Wednesday. So obviously Leeds, Southampton has been postponed. So we get to see the lineups for Man City and Villa. I would expect Cancelo to play on Wednesday. Villa team is going to be interesting. Let's hope, obviously, that the game obviously goes ahead. But the Villa team is going to be interesting because if you look at the Fulham team, you kind of expect the team to come back, not weak as such, but maybe with a weaker performance than normal. But look how Fulham played against Spurs, and and the game before, they put in so much energy, and fight and stuff. So I'm not sure that's a foregone conclusion. It's an easy game for City. In all fairness, then after that, Fulham, Man United. The big question on that day is KDB or Bruno. Paul?
If we see, if KDB starts, which I think now after getting a 20-25 minute rest today, I think KDB will start and I'll be on him for captain.
What about Diaz? Or Stones? If you still, well, you haven't got Stones, obviously. What about a defender? Or are you still firmly on KDB because the ownership?
I'd say that they've got a higher ceiling, but Stones is just Stones. If he gets man of the match, he'll have just recorded the single highest game day score this season. So, which he'll beat Son by 1 point from when he got his 4 goals against Southampton, which is crazy. I would still captain KDB. I just think he's got a high ceiling. He is starting to convert chances and get assists now, whereas he went through that barren spell maybe 4 or 5 game weeks ago.
But Dan, KDB or Bruno on Wednesday?
I've got Bruno option 1, KDB option 2, so probably that'll be it. But in the 2 teams, in my A team, I have been captaining the defenders, so I'll be on Diaz or Stones in that one. But yeah, I think I'll be Bruno in 1. Do you know? I actually don't know. I think I'm going to captain Bruno, and in the other team I'll go for Diaz or Stones. Although Stones, is he going to score another couple of goals next game? Maybe we'll just stick to Diaz.
think I'm on KDB because I think Fulham have massively improved. They've been so impressive the last couple of games. Unlucky to lose yesterday. I thought, they got the point against Spurs. It's obviously really hard point as well. Marius is going for Bruno. That's interesting. And James Street says, did anyone see that Matt Targett took Grealish out of his FPL team this week? I did see that, actually.
Bamford took out Mesley.
He did. I tell you what, we need to keep a look on those
trading, isn't it?
Oh, unbelievable.
Actually, I'll just go on record. I'll captain KDB on Wednesday night. I won't go for Bruno now.
Is that because of the whole controversy on FPL Twitter just now?
Yeah. Well, do you know what the problem is? I think I even have to text you sometimes. I'll go through all my captains here with you, and then it comes to the weekend. I can't remember who I said I was going to captain, so I just had to check with you.
You were calling Fergie and I out for captain in Bamford, saying insinuating that we were hiding it from you yesterday. You never asked.
I was going to wind up. So KDB for me on Wednesday. And DS in the other team.
And then Thursday, so single game day, Liverpool against Burnley. So I'll be bringing Salah back, the free scoring Salah back for Lacazette. But it's just he's just as likely to score a couple of goals as he is to blank. Right? That's just my thought. If you haven't got him and he bangs, your rank will really suffer. Paul, thoughts on Liverpool Burnley?
Yeah, I'm going to captain Salah, and I think a lot of people have moved off of Robertson for City defenders.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Whereas he might have once been a popular captain picking that game, I no longer think he will. So,
any love for so for those like me who are coming off Lacazette, if any love for Mane or anyone else for that matter in the team? Because obviously, I don't think Liverpool not scored now for 3 games, is that right? I think that's right, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of Liverpool captaincy coming up, especially if you don't own Kane. And I would just you know the way that I play. I always captain who I think will be the most captained player on a single game day, at least until after the overhaul. And I'll continue on that basis. If you did go Mane, you've obviously got a good differential option, but if Salah scored and Mane didn't, then
you go flying down the ranks.
You're in free fall.
I think it depends on where you are as well, right? So I think at the moment all us three are doing okay. We're probably in kind of play it safe sort of a territory, but I would say to everyone, have a look at your mini leagues. Have a look, if you think you need to give yourself a real bump, if you're in the bottom half of your mini league and you really want to have a go or do something a bit different, maybe go Mane over Salah potentially, or someone else. But if Salah bangs and Mane doesn't, you'll fly down the ranks. If you're on Salah and he bangs or not, you're very likely just to say kind of a stationary. So that's your kind of risk to take there. Just to briefly touch on next week. Bear in mind we're coming up to overhaul time now, guys. Only a couple of weeks. I think it's 3 weeks now to overhaul. On Saturday, obviously there's that rearranged game, Villa versus Newcastle. So this was dropped in, and I think last week we said we thought it might be dropped in on this weekend. Obviously it's FA Cup 4th round weekend, and I think we did actually say on stream last week, if you're getting rid of Villa players, be careful because this is very likely to drop. So Dan, have you capped the Villa player, or what are you?
Of course, we talked about it, didn't we? That's what I did. I can't remember who. Was it Ben Crellin, I think? Do you know what I mean? FPL guy, he'd said about that could go in the FA Cup round 4 weekend. Yeah. So I thought, do you know what I mean? You said he knows his stuff. And I think Ian Parrin might have even said the same. So I thought, well, I just didn't want to tempt fate by getting rid of Grealish. So I've kept hold of him and bang, that fixture's on that weekend. My only problem now is, and if anyone knows Jack Grealish, please tell him not to get booked against Man City because he'll be suspended for it. So yeah, I kept a Villa player, and it's looking like it's going to be all right for me. But yeah, just please don't get booked.
And then we will touch on the rest next next Sunday, but they've all got, it's either KDB, Bruno, or Salah again, which is, all the plans are in place. Just to touch briefly, so Ian Parrott, I'm sorry, Ian, I've been watching the football day and I clearly forgot to put your graphic up, so it's not on the stream, but I'll read it out the best I can. So Ian has very kindly done some fixture predictions for us where he thinks that things may fall. So on Friday the 29th of January, he says no chance for Friday night game as none of the fixtures contain teams that have both played on Tuesday the 26th. On Saturday the 30th of January, one of Chelsea against Burnley, Palace or Wolves, City or Sheffield United or West Bromwich Fulham will likely to get moved for Sunday to TV. And he reckons Chelsea v Burnley is his prediction to be moved to Sunday, as it allows 5 games on Wednesday and then Chelsea to play on the following Thursday. He says it's unlikely to be a Monday night game on the 1st of February. On Tuesday the 2nd, if Chelsea and Burnley is played on the Sunday, then Burnley City cannot be played on the Tuesday. Sorry, I hope all this is making sense. On Wednesday the 3rd of Feb, he says Villa v West Ham, Fulham v Leicester, Leeds v Everton, Liverpool v Brighton cannot play Tuesday as they have matches the previous Sunday. And Ian reckons on Thursday the 4th of February, match of the round, BT might want to schedule it in a standalone spot. So Ian's prediction is that Spurs v Chelsea could potentially be the lone game on Thursday the 4th of February. He says then on Friday the 5th of February, in the unlikely event of a Friday night game, the only option would be Newcastle versus Southampton. So I know, so this is not good for me because I haven't got.
We had a Newcastle Southampton before, didn't we? That's when we brought Wilson in.
Oh, don't, bloody hell! And then on Sunday the 7th, he says Liverpool v Man City is likely to be the Super Sunday 4:30 game, as you would expect. Sheffield United versus Chelsea and Spurs v West Brom will be moved if they play on Thursday. And on Monday the 8th, if a Monday night game is required, Leeds versus Palace is the only fixture where both teams are already out of the FA Cup. So this is where, holding on to Dallas, for example, may come in very, very useful. And I'm thinking of the previous week, actually, if that Spurs and Chelsea is a single one as well. I haven't got Kane as an example. A lot of people won't have Kane. So, if you haven't, Zuma maybe one to hold on to. But that Newcastle-Southampton game isn't very pretty either, is it? So there may be need for more transfers to be used by the end. Thank you so much for that, Ian. Really, really useful stuff. But I think the thing that hits on with me there, which is obviously really important, is everyone keeps saying, and people have been saying this since before Christmas, I'll do this transfer until the overhaul, I'll just leave it then. But something always happens, right? Zuma's been dropped. Bamford and Leeds are horribly out of form. There's been games postponed. There's still fixtures that need to be scheduled. You could easily have 1 or 2 games or even more where you may still need a single game day captain. So, I've learned over the years, I do it all the time. I always kid myself that I'll have, I won't make any more transfers now until the overhaul. I'm locked in. Whereas things, especially this season, right? Things always.
Look, that Zuma is just out of nowhere, wasn't it? Like I said, I was like thinking they're keeping him into the overhaul. It's like, oh right, so that's another transfer I've got to have to make. But it's mad, isn't it? I was really surprised they threw that Spurs Fulham game in midweek that as well. That just shows you anything can happen at short notice. So yeah, I don't know when this leads Southampton, whether it's going to come in the overhaul or do you know what I mean? But like Ian's one's there, like you said, when I saw that Spurs v Chelsea could be the Thursday night, and you think, I've only got Zuma like you, so it's like, do I hold on to him or it's just.
Thing is, though, the way I thought about it, so I was thinking about Bamford and Stones this morning, and the way I think about it, and I've learned this off Paul, and I've learned it, just kind of generally thinking is like the value of a transfer, right? So if I was to hold on to Bamford, he hasn't got many games until the end of overhaul. It's unlikely you'll need him for captaincy, and the way that the Man City defenders are performing at the moment, they're going to get a minimum of 4 to 5 points every single game, and their ceiling now, as we know, right? Okay, probably 10 to 13 is normally the ceiling. Stones has gone off on a mad one this evening. 10 to 13 for Bamford to get 10 to 13 points, he needs to score 2 goals every game. So I thought, I think the value of a transfer is not, it's not just on the one day, right? So in terms of holding on to Zuma, for example, if I think Zuma is going to be dropped and lose his place, I don't see the point of potentially holding on for, a 10-pointer maybe in that game where you could have already lost 40 points through getting in Diaz if you don't have him, just as an example. So I think, learned this a lot more this season on weighing up the value of a transfer and thinking about it, and this is why I do think holding on to players for captaincy days 5 or 6 weeks down the line has got its merits. I think in a normal season it normally works out a lot more, but I think this season is different, and I think we need to be a bit more proactive potentially, in the way we manage our teams.
It's just that City run, like you can't.
It's insane, mate.
You can't get a better run of fixtures,
No,
and it's like the City defenders are starting on 5 points instead of 2. So when you think of the value of a transfer, I tend to err on the side of caution, thinking, right, well, they start on 2 points. As you said about Bamford, he needs to score and hit shots tier to get that sort of 10 points, whereas the City defenders, the City players are just racking up points after points. That's why I moved in Gundogan last week as well, because I couldn't get to another City defender based on the structure of my team. But I had that space in midfield, and there's not a lot of good options in midfield. And Gundogan had been doing well for the bonus, albeit he didn't pick up any today, but he was getting more advanced. But it was just crazy. But like you're right, like 5 or 6 City games, knowing that the defenders are playing 5, like maybe 5 minimum out of those games, is just an unbelievable run.
We mentioned this just before that run started, and I think we said that if you had Ederson and 3 defenders, for example, every time City played and kept a clean sheet, you're walking off probably with 40 points plus just from those every single time, and that's without any more kind of attacking returns, anyone else in your team as well, right? And obviously it's worked on the first 2, but to me it's the way they're playing as well. They, and the teams they're playing. It's just these runs. It happened a couple of years ago for City in TFF a bit more than Sky. But when you see these runs of fixtures, I just tend to jump on them in all formats because, all right, City haven't been scoring as many goals normal. I know they scored 4 this evening, right? But normally a 4-0 for them is kind of a regular week, right? And but in defence, they just seem to have tightened up so much. Anyway, enough about City. Okay, so we had so many questions. Thank you everyone who sent in some questions this evening, some really good ones. Had off FPL Zombie with a lot more decent players in good positions with 20 plus transfers. What are your tactics for staying ahead of the pack? Cover all the top captain picks or start mixing in low top 1k ownership differentials? So in terms of staying ahead of the pack, Paul, I know your answer, but do you want to say it anyway?
Just identify who you think is going to, like, this is how I play, not suggesting anybody else plays that way, but to play it safe, have a look at the fixtures, have a look at who's going to be the most captained player. I think on Tuesday coming up, I think Antonio's ownership is going to shoot up massively should he be in the starting lineup, and I think that he will be rivaling Vardy for the biggest captain option that day. And just stay like that. And I've playing differentials. I wouldn't play differentials for the sake of playing differentials. So Dan and I were chatting about Sterling earlier on. I just don't think Sterling's looked particularly great on the eye test. We know he's got great history and great pedigree. It would be a mix of low ownership but passing the eye test and perhaps not getting the points. Where I would look if I was going for a differential, I think.
When we talked about Sterling, didn't we? Because I did fancy him today. I was going to put him in for Vardy. But then, like what you say, sort of thing, he's hardly owned. So even if he did score a hat trick, that's not really affecting my position not having him, is it? So I just thought it weren't, just stick with the crowd of the percentage sort of picks. But yeah, I think you're right for Tuesday. I think Antonio probably will be the most selected captain just because there's so many doubts about Vardy and Zuma that he will be the main one. I'll be happy just for Vardy and Zuma to both play, but I think I'll be on Antonio.
Something which I've heard both Paul and Sun Dream Team Flower Pot Man, who was in the chat this evening, good evening, Tom, say, and it's the hardest thing to do in fantasy football, but it's let other people make their mistakes. And Tommy told me that when we had a chat the other week on the quiz looking at Dream Team, let other people make their mistakes. And that's a prime example is what I did last week. I looked at the ownership. Holding was the highest owned player for Arsenal. Holding was the safe pick. You know, even if they conceded, he's probably going to get the pass in. But I went for Lacazette, and that cost me 16 points, which, you know, if you think 16 points, how hard you normally work to get 16 points, and I absolutely threw it in the bin. And what angered me the most is it wasn't even the one game. I've got the other game to go, which very, very likely I'm going to concede another 16 points. So lesson learned on that one. I think Sean actually, FF Thinker, mentioned earlier this is his first season playing the game, and the one big thing he's learned is when you've got a 50-50, you know, on going for a punt or going for a safe player, just go for a safe player, because that's what, and let everyone else around you in your mini leagues go for the wild punts, go for the Aubameyangs, go for the Lacazettes, go for whoever else. Stick it on Holding.
I'd say there is an alternative sensible approach. Like, so we were talking about the Salah and Robertson thing earlier on, and I think that a more sensible alternative to that would be perhaps to go Robertson, knowing that, like, at home to Burnley, he's got a base of passing points, so it's not like a wild punt that you're going for someone to hit a hat trick. Like, there's like you could potentially play it like that, and he will be a differential as well. So that's always an option.
Yeah, no, really good points. Joseph asked more specifically with Zuma, best replacement. Specifically need to go to the captain option for Tuesday. I think we all think Antonio is probably a really good option moving forward. He will be low owned. I know you think his ownership will go up, and I do agree with you. However, I'm not sure how. I can't see it going up from what it is now. You know, I'm not sure what it is now, but I'm assuming it's something like a couple of percent or something along those lines in the top 1K. I can't see it going up past 20 in one day personally. I can't see that.
It's 8.7 just now.
Oh, 8.7 is higher than I thought then. Okay, he will go up higher than 20. Okay, maybe not as high as 30 or 40, but yeah, I think, you know, I think Antonio, you know, in terms of captain option, you get to see the lineups anyway, right? And if he doesn't, just stick it on Vardy. You've got Vardy or Zuma. If you've got him, if he plays, he plays. If he doesn't, he doesn't. There'll be so many people, you know, in the same boat. What are your guys' thoughts on like Creswell or Kufal or anyone like that? Any love for them still? Dan's turned his lip up.
Nah, not for me.
If I held, I wouldn't hesitate in captain him. But I just, like I say, I don't see like a massive upside of rotating my 6 million defenders. I only brought in Holding because he had the 2 captaincy days. If it had been 1 captaincy day, I would have probably just missed that game as well.
Yeah, and I think with the Zuma match on Tuesday as well, you know, they're playing Leicester, which is going to be a hard match. Leicester are playing really well. If it was an easier game, you may be tempted, but you know, I think Vardy and Zuma that day, if they both play, are going to have a tough time against each other. So just thinking, actually, I wonder whether they may play Zuma over Silva on Tuesday evening to try and counteract Vardy's pace, because Vardy will obviously target Silva, wouldn't he, and skin him most likely just because of the age. Well, even though he's 3 years younger, he's twice as fast, isn't he? FPL heavyweight and Sky FF. Is it worth transferring out Tierney after the Newcastle match for anyone, save for Stones, or hold till overhaul? He has 19 transfers left. Already have Cancelo and Diaz. He asked this 3 hours ago before Stones hold as well, which is quite harsh. Dan, what do you think about getting rid of Tierney? He can afford Stones.
Yeah, I'd probably still do it. Obviously, that's a bit guttering now, isn't it, to be enough 30 points down on it when you could have done it. But yeah, like we said, Man City is so good. He's going to get 5 points every game he starts at least. So yeah, I'd probably still do it.
Paul?
Yeah, it doesn't. Traditionally, when you think somebody had a 29-pointer, you think you're chasing last week's points. But because that City run is so great and Stones looks assured, yeah, he might miss one game, perhaps not. But you'll see the City lineup anyway. So I definitely wouldn't advise against
just do
that.
it. If he if he plays, he's going to get between 5 and 10 points probably every game in the. So I think get on. We mentioned it last week and probably the week before. I think when it started to come up, but just jump on on City defenders if they get injured or whatever else, or games get postponed. You can't do anything about that. But every time at the moment, if you're only on one defender, as we saw there earlier, if you're only on one and they keep it clean sheets, your rank's going down, which is not a pleasant experience. For reasons unknown, at Magpie Paul, 22 transfers left, using 2 on Tuesday, Antonio and Dawson. So he's bringing in Dawson for West Ham for Saka and Dallas. Do you think this is a good move? I'm assuming he's doing Dallas for Dawson just to free up the funds to do Saka to Antonio. I'd be nervous of Dawson, but we are close to the overhaul. Paul, would you advise that move?
I probably wouldn't do it. If it is to free up the funds, like you said, I
think it is.
Yeah. So I'd made a point to myself at the start of this season that my worst trait was doing 2 transfers to get 1 player that I wanted.
Yeah.
And that feels to me like that would be 2 transfers just to get Antonio in.
Yeah.
I personally wouldn't do it for 2 transfers. Okay.
Dan, what about you?
Yeah, so like there's sort of 2 transfers in it for sort of. I know Antonio's good, but yeah, not a cost of 2 transfers. So no, pretty much what Paul says really. If there's not, like, I'd look at what else I could do, who else I could move out, or what I can do, but I wouldn't want to make 2 just to get Antonio in.
It's a tough one. So we've already mentioned that we think Leeds may get a potential single game day pre-overhaul. I think Antonio's a really good move, but I agree with Paul and Dan. I don't want to do it. I think it's going to be up to you, Magpie Paul, and your decision. Really, it's one of those that we all agonise over, because if you don't do it, Antonio pops a couple in, you'll be absolutely gutted. And we don't want to be the people that said don't do it. I don't think that we would do it, but if you want to do it, it'd be your decision.
Do you think, does it feel like Dallas is it kind of feels like Dallas hasn't been doing much recently, right?
Mm-hmm.
But see, if you look at his games from the 22nd, he's 6.4 million.
Yeah.
From the 22nd of November, he's got 6 points, 7 points, 2 points, 1 point, 8 points, 4 points, 7 points, 13 points, 2 points, 2 points. I don't know that I would want much more for a 6.4 million defender.
He was only just short of a passing bonus as well, wasn't he, at the weekend? I'm sure he was less than sort of about, well, I think it was about 6 or 7 passes short, so it's a bit annoying.
Before overhaul, and that's without the rearranged game, they play Newcastle, who forgo possession. They play Crystal Palace, who forgo possession. So there's bonus potential there. I appreciate, as you probably pointed out, Fergie, it was probably to do 2 moves, but I still think Dallas is really good value.
I think the thing with Dawson as well, so West Ham have got an absolute flood of centre backs. Balbuena, who has been isolated, will be back soon. He's been isolated for the past week or whatever it is, so he'll be back soon as well. They've got a lot of centre backs, so I'd be nervous if you're that insistent on getting Antonio in. I'd maybe think of doing another move personally rather than Dallas to Dawson, because Dallas has got upside. Dawson has got maybe a game's upside, but then maybe not after that. He may lose his place and he's sat with a complete dud. At DB Sky FF asks, Fofana to Konza, a reasonable move for the 23rd, even though Konza doesn't tend to pass in, could be on against Newcastle. I would say absolutely not. Dan, what do you think? Fofana to Konza?
Yeah, I don't know. Fofana's been good, hasn't he, for the passing bonus, but I think he got booked at the weekend, hadn't he? So that's why he sort of went off before the 60 mins. So I don't know. I know Soyuncu's sort of coming back, but I don't know. I think I'd hold him. Well, we say you can, if you don't play Tuesday, then you can make a move Wednesday, can't you, possibly? But I don't know. If I had him in the team, I think I'd just sit with him for now and see what happens on Tuesday first, and then make a move.
Paul, for Fanato Konza?
Yeah, so I know Newcastle give up possession quite a lot, but Konza's got 0 passing bonus this season, and Mings has got tier 1 once, and I think it was opening game of the season, or if it wasn't an opening game, it was one of the early games. So it's not like Villa's a possession-based team as well. As said before, I don't like messing around with the 6 million area. I think the transfers could be used better elsewhere. So he might score, and he might get a captaincy game out of him. I don't think I would make the move though.
So even if he keeps a clean sheet, which is fairly likely, but the probably maximum he's going to get is probably 14 points, unless he gets a goal, right? But that's obviously unlikely. Let's address this point now, obviously, because we can't do it next week. So Saturday evening, if you don't have a captain and you don't have Edison, would you be tempted to move? I think we've got a question actually off Sky FF, Robin. I noticed a couple of others. So for people holding on to people maybe like Meslier, Patricio, etc., would you move them on to Martinez to cover this Saturday night captaincy and keep him until the overhaul? Paul, what do you think of that?
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't. So would you advise?
Unless I knew my goalkeeper was out until the overhaul. The example that you said there, like if Meslier was nowhere near returning back to the first team, then I might do it. They play Newcastle the day after though, so if he's back in there, Newcastle's pretty shot shy at the moment. Leeds could easily pick up a clean sheet there. I still wouldn't. But you're always tempted to, right? It always comes up to single game days where there's two teams that aren't as appealing, and you feel like you have to make a transfer to keep up with the group. But I'd rather hold the transfer and use it later on the season.
It's hard and it's boring. I would also say that Paul is sat nicely in the top 100 overall at the moment, with north of 20 transfers left. So heed his advice. I know I do.
I don't have any Villa players, and I'm not bringing anyone in.
You're skipping it. Dan, what about you? I know you've got a player, haven't you? But if you didn't, would you bring one in?
I've hopefully got Grealish. I would say the same as Paul. I'm happy I've got Grealish because I've got someone in place, hopefully. And if he gets me 4 points, that's more than what Paul's going to get. So I'm happy with that. I would also be happy if Paul, I know he won't, but if someone who don't have a Villa, then panicked, use the transfer to bring a Villa player in, because that's another transfer they've used. Brilliant. And, it's not like you think, I'll bring in Grealish, he's going to score loads of points to the over. I'm happy to sit him there. Like I honestly wouldn't bother, but that will be the hardest thing because people won't be able to resist, will they? They'll have to have someone because they know they're going to drop down the rankings. So I would just say don't bother. If you haven't got anyone, like if Grealish gets booked, I won't bother. I'll just leave it.
If it was like Spurs or something like that on a single game day, then obviously I would look to try and get Kane in if I didn't own Kane, or Salah for Liverpool, or someone else. But the fact that it's a single game day, Villa, it's not like the defenders are guaranteed passing bonus or anything like that.
No,
so
it's like that. That's like we said with Holden. We knew Holden we didn't know, but we could pretty much predict Holden would get passing bonus. Yeah. So I was happy that he was going to be on for a 10-pointer. But I'll say now that Southampton Newcastle, if that's a Friday, I'm not bothering bringing anyone in for that because it's just not worth the transfer.
Okay, we've had a few questions both in the chat and on Twitter around transfers left at overhaul. Very, very tough question because I personally think that the ideal number has maybe changed in the last week or two. I think a week or two, until it was so clear that these City defenders are going to be so important pre-overhaul, I think we were probably saying, anywhere between 20, 22, 23, you'd probably be in a really good, a really good spot. Like the move I made earlier. So I moved on Bamford to Stones. That wasn't part of my plan at all. But you can just see what's happening with Man City, and you can potentially, I kind of weighed up having Stones to the overhaul against a transfer post overhaul, and I thought that having Stones would counteract having one extra transfer, which it obviously already has, right? Now that's just by the by. But I think it would have anyway. but I do think that number may have lowered now. Dan, what are your thoughts on transfer count at Overhaul to have, a good shot?
That is hard. It's just with the fixtures, how they're coming up, it's so difficult to say. But like you said, we're only halfway through the season, aren't we? So you'd sort of want to say you want to
not even halfway, yeah. All the teams have played 18 games. There's 20 left.
So it is tricky. I've got 23 left, so I'll be really happy if I can get Overhaul with 20, because I think I can really kick on then. So it's just so hard to say, isn't it? You don't.
What do you think is the minimum you need to kind of have a good shout at, at remaining in control of your team and and being able to pick the best captains for the second half of the season?
Depends who you are, doesn't it?
I'm thinking more mini leagues now. Yeah, I'm thinking more. I'm thinking more for people to kind of win their mini leagues.
I think you'd be okay with 15.
Yeah,
like if you, because you are getting the over, like it's a time thing, but you are getting the Overhaul and earlier on the season, when I think it was in fact it was the very start, it wasn't even the first Overhaul, like we had picked a team and we had planned one transfer, right? It was Aubameyang out to KDB on the Monday night.
Yeah, was it? Yeah.
But you could have started the game with KDB there, so like you were only gaining one game or two games from Aubameyang then at the start. You could at Overhaul, if you picked sensibly for the Monday night of the second week, say, if that's how the fixtures fell, you could save your transfer there, knowing that you could then do it later on in the season. So I think 15. I think I'd be uncomfortable with less than 15. And obviously, ideally, the more the better. But I still think you could do damage with 15 and climb ranks and by picking up differential.
I think there's going to be 14 sets of fixtures left from the Overhaul onwards. It's either exactly 14 or it's kind of one way or another. So I think if you just count it as a transfer per week in the Overhaul, set your team's structure up so you can get to anyone you want in one move, and have you kind of think about it as a transfer per week. If you can do that, I think you're well set. So I think that now is a pretty decent guide, but it also depends on what you're trying to achieve, right? So loads of us trying to win the whole thing, right? But most actually I think are just trying to play their mini leagues, right? So depending where you are in your mini league as well, you need to take that into account in kind of how you play in things as well. But yeah, I personally think 15. I think the thing last season I noticed is I fell out of control of being able to make the moves I wanted. That's what happened with me at the end of last season. I couldn't make the moves I wanted to make because basically I ran out of transfers. There was 3 or 4 weeks left and I had 1 or 2 transfers left, and that leaves you not in control of your team almost. I think if you can leave a transfer a week and try and stick to that structure, you'll always, you can always make that move you want to make. We couldn't bring in, I know we mention it all the time, but we couldn't bring in Pope. Whereas if we'd have brought in Pope, we would have flew up the ranks. We couldn't bring in Antonio. We couldn't do these really nice moves we wanted to do because we just ran out of transfers at the end. So anyway,
we do mention that I think at least every month.
I think it's every week. It's because it hurts so bad. He's definitely going to score 4 on Tuesday against West Brom and make up for it anyway. We haven't got a chance to go through every single question. Thank you so much for those who asked all the questions. We'll go through the Twitter and try and answer as many.
I'll go on Twitter later. If there's any on Twitter, I can pick some up on Twitter later if anyone's got any that we ain't got to.
Nice one, Dan. Thank you very much for that. Okay, we're just going to have a quick look at our mini leagues. So the Fantasy Football Hub £500 Members League update in 10th place. And this is amazing, right? Because I think this morning, you, Paul, you're in the top 100, but you're actually, you're in the top 100 overall, but you're not in the top 10 of the Fantasy Football Hub £500 mini league, which just kind of says how strong this league is. It's absolutely ridiculous. In 10th place, Mr. Grumpy Mark Burgess, who I know is Paul and Dan's mate, so he's made the top 10.
I wouldn't say mate. I'd say more acquaintance.
9th is Colin Price. 8th, David Rowe. So David, who joined us for the quiz last week. Well done, Dave. Up to 8th place overall. 7th, Matthew Samuel. 6th, Stuart Below. 5th, Peter Brown. 4th, Sean Robertson. 3rd, Pete Kemp. Really good manager, Pete. 2nd, Oliver Colgan. And in top place, Lalana's in Pyjamas, Kerry Vintis. on 1,704 points. So this doesn't include this evening games, obviously, but many congratulations to everyone in the top 10. You are absolutely flying because you must be in the top 50 or 60 overall. So really well played. Good stuff.
To win,
there.
sorry, mate. I think to win this Hub League, you're going to have to be finishing the top 10
You're going to have to win the old thing,
overall.
I think, you?
Yeah, it's a tough crowd.
And the Four Nations League. So Paul holds his lead, 1,642 points. Dan overtook me last week for the first time all season. He's just been waiting on my coattails, and he overtook me. So he was 7 ahead of me. But I did have stones this evening, so I think I might have overtaken you back over now, Dan. And I was a point ahead of Liam. So Liam and I, neck and neck, going into it very tight. So that is the Four Nations League. Currently, it's going to Bonnie, Scotland. However, there is still a long way to go. Well in the Scots. Okay, Dan, finally. What's upset you this week?
Jamie Vardy, as always, when I own him. 7 shots yesterday, 1 on target. That's unbelievable, isn't it? If I didn't own him, he'd have scored 6 goals. They'd all been on target. I just can't believe it. Do you know, I just want, I know it's very harsh, but I just can't wait for him to retire because he just ruins my season. I don't have him. I don't have him against Man City and he scores a hat-trick. Don't have him on the first day. He gets 2 penalties. Like he touches the ball twice for 2 pens and scores. So he kills us the first 3 weeks he scored 5 goals. Have him in my team, he'll start 2 foot, like tackling the corner flag and stuff, don't he? And you're like, I don't know. He needs to do something he needs to play against Chelsea and score, and then he needs to do something against Everton if I hold him in. But it's just so frustrating to own. And
after that, he's got Leeds, and the way it's going, he should rip Leeds a new one. And
then Fulham, yeah?
And then Fulham after that. And then Wolves, because Wolves will fall off a cliff as well.
Yeah, I was going to keep him until the overhaul, but he's just so frustrating. He just doesn't head in.
You're right.
So he's annoyed me. It's just typical, isn't it? I heard on the radio, TalkSport, the other day, there was a guy took his theory test 157 times before he passed. You'd knock it on the head after 5 or 6, wouldn't you? You just think driving's not for me. That was bizarre. De Bruyne in the week, too tired to take a penalty. Oh. Like Sterling's missed 3 out. Too tired. Come on. Like, that's annoying, isn't it? So, especially when you're thinking like, go on, penalty. And then Sterling misses and loses in the assist as well. So that's annoying. What was I going to say? I was quite surprised. So we've got a couple of celeb listeners, haven't we? I just wondered if there's any more. Like I've heard from a couple. So I know we've got a couple. But I wondered, like, if I don't know, Kurt from Corrie's listening or Kane Dingle from Emmerdale. Just let us know because I'm generally intrigued how many people listen to this. I know we get like a good sort of 1,500 views on the YouTube, and I don't know what the iTunes stats are, but I'm just intrigued really. So if anyone else,
we're trying to get Paul Heaton from Beautiful South on, aren't we? Because he's a regular listener. But I've said he's only allowed on if he'll do a duet with me of Perfect 10.
That's why he keeps.
That's why he's not here.
Yeah, I sent him that demo he did, but we're trying to get him on. He's good at fantasy football as well. It's not like we're just going to get him on, but yeah, he's a great guy. So hopefully get him on. And we've got a rebrand, haven't we? So hopefully we'll have a new little logo and everything soon. So gonna have a bit of a different. Well, having an upgrade, aren't we, to our logo and stuff? So for our pod. So yeah, and that was about it for me, mate. I went really. Yesterday was rubbish, 6 points, but today's been all right. So yeah, not been a bad week, all in all.
I've got a rant off Todd Sims in the chat. So he was messaging myself and Dan last night. So his friends in work, or his friends, whoever they are, he's in a mini league with them, and he told them that he listens to a podcast. Obviously helps him out. He's obviously smashing his mini league in work now, and one of his friends reported him to Sky Sports, and not only that, they mocked up a letter from Sky Sports saying that they're going to throw Todd out of his mini league as well. So give you a shout out there, Todd. Don't worry about it. It's absolutely ridiculous. And the only rant I've really got, so I think it probably happens more maybe if you've got kids, just because of the sheer volume, right? But Dan, do you do the washing up in your house, or have you got a dishwasher?
Dishwasher.
Oh, see, I do the washing up. If anyone's got kids and haven't got a dishwasher, well, I say that even if you haven't got kids, depends on how much stuff you use. But does anyone else feel like they're just constantly washing up all day? I feel like at the moment, because obviously working from home, all my fingers, I've got, you know, that like crinkly prune feel. I've got it constantly because I feel like I've got my hands in the bowl for about 6 hours a day. It's just driving me absolutely mad. And then I'll do the washing up.
I'll get you some marigolds.
Oh, thank you, mate. I'll do the washing up. I'll go in the living room. I'll go back out for a drink 5 minutes later, and there's all pots and pans and plates and whatever else again. I'm just like, absolutely constant. One of the things of having the kids off school and and the wife working from home and whatever else drive me absolutely crazy. But
I can't afford for my kids to be at home. The amount of food they eat, well, that's crazy.
This is it.
But like you say, the plates and that is like a load of dishwasher. I mean, then you're like, what? Why have you got to use 7 mugs for? Just like empty it, rinse it, and get another one. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what have you got 7 mugs for? Just use one. Yeah, I can see what you're saying, mate.
Agree. James Street says, for the rebound, I like this, the fantasy football scrub. I like that. Very good, James. Very good indeed.
Actually, I did say to you that you're all right with Fergie, but Paul's got to go we've got to come up with a nickname for him.
Yeah, yes, I know. What was you wanted to call him? Face of the 18.
Yeah,
face of the 18.
He's here for the ladies or whatever, isn't he? It's the face.
He's a good looking bastard.
And I'm not, before Glenn Murray starts, I'm not having the cat whisperer, so don't start chipping in.
If anyone's got a nickname for Paul, please put it in the chat. Paul's loving this, isn't he? He's like, for fuck's sake. If anyone has got a nickname for Paul, please put it in the chat. Okay, so that's it from us for this week. Thank you so much, everyone who is on the chat. Thank you so much, as usual, for joining us live, and thank you for everyone for listening to us, watching us, and supporting us on this stream. One favour, could everyone please retweet the podcast when we tweet it out, either later this evening or tomorrow morning? Dan, where can people find you?
Twitter, Dan Cox 82, and my article on the Hub every week. So and like you just said, thanks to everyone who listens in, and I think we have got a good little crowd that with us most weeks and all that, and we're all doing good at Sky, and I think someone here could win it. So thanks for tuning in and supporting us, and please hit the like button.
Paul, where can people find you?
At Paul McAnulty 1, MCANULTY.
Have you got a nickname, Paul?
Maca, or my name's birth name's John Paul McAnulty, but everyone calls me Paul. So some of my friends
lazy bastards.
JP as well.
JP, that's interesting. There we go. Okay, so this podcast and video will be on the Fantasy Football Hub, Sky and TFF YouTube channel, and also available in all major podcast platforms. If you like what you watched, please click the like button. Remember to subscribe in the bottom right hand corner of the screen if you enjoyed your listen. Please rate the podcast version and leave some comments. Our handles on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok are at FFH_HQ, and our podcast Twitter handle is at FFH_Sky. So please follow and feel free to ask any questions. We will do our best to answer them all. Our website is fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, where you'll find everything you need for fantasy football all under one roof, including player comparison tools, the fixture ticker, Opta stats, top player, team reveals, and much, much more. Good luck to all our watchers and listeners this week. We'll be back next Sunday celebrating an Antonio hat-trick, no doubt, and looking forward to Sky Game Week 20. Stay safe and good night all.